All right, let's get to the team that we usually focus on here on Michigan Podcast. I have described it as a peaceful transition of power here. And I loved the idea, as I told you a couple of weeks ago. I love the idea of putting this competition out in the open. Let's let everybody see. Get rid of conspiracy theories and I'm a soapbox 72 on the Michigan message board, and I know someone who was necking with the cleaning lady, and she heard from the janitor's crack that JJ lit it up at the scrimmage, but Jimmy told him that we have to play the senior captain. I mean, that stuff can just destroy you, right? Okay, in today's media environment. So shine a light out. Let's put it all out there to see. And I thought at the time, the worst thing that could happen is these guys both play great. And if they do, you put the senior captain in there as starter, and JJ plays spot duty more than he did last year, and we move on. This, to me, is an even better scenario. I mean, that the break here is very clear. It's very clear. It's time to move on. I think Cade McNamara is going to go down as one of the most important quarterbacks in Michigan football history. With the role that him and his class played in rebuilding this culture last year, the stabilizing force that he proved to be provided a bridge for us to even get to J.J. McCarthy being the quarterback. Because without what Cade and Aiden Hutchinson and those guys did last year, Harbaugh's not the coach here. And from covering coaching changes in today's transfer portal era, man, that means your entire roster's up for grabs, right? So I think Cade deserves a lot of credit for that. But it's clear now that the Padawan is ready for the Jedi trials. Your thoughts?
The trust factor for Jim Harbaugh among Michigan fans should be sky high. And this is why. Because now for a second consecutive year, he has proven to know. We need to see the wins and losses prove out in 2022. But I am sold on what the approach was here for a second consecutive year. Because even though the guy doesn't necessarily explain it in the most eloquent terms or phrasing, and often looks like a deer.
It's biblical, Mark. That's all you need to know, brother. It's biblical. Don't be a heretic. It's just biblical, brother.
It is. I can't argue with that. That with that far-off, distant look that he has in his eyes at times, that, again, deer in headlights kind of look, that actually, when it comes down to it, he's smarter than just about all of us, because
there's a Columbo angle here. Is that a little bit? Yeah, you kind of like he sucks you in thinking this is like Asperger's syndrome with a headset. And then before you know it, he's completely cornered you. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
Yes, that's where I'm going with this, because last year, with last year's team, he selected the right guy. He played through, won a Big Ten championship. So here's what he did was, instead of coming out and starting JJ game number one, saying he's the more talented player. Of course, he's not going to say that, but that he won the job in August camp. He auditioned it in front of us, and he probably knew JJ is going to show himself against live bullets for 2 weeks. He's going to show himself to be the best player. So he's going to back up my decision. So it's not going to be, and then he left himself a game cushion to say, whoever wins this job, JJ is going to have a full game as the guy to prep himself for Big Ten play against another softie. And, he gave all respect to Cade McNamara to be able to show himself, prove himself in front of all of us. He showed him that respect. And I think he should have shown him that respect, because think about it. What place did Jim Harbaugh have among the Michigan fan base and the Michigan faithful at this time last year? It was only one bad season, but with everything that had happened that particular year, the off season that he had, and then of course the run of Ohio State losses and postseason losses, he owes a lot to Cade McNamara. He's the guy that was there for him and then pulled him through, regardless of our estimation on how much of it was Cade McNamara and how much was running game, defense, etc. He was still the guy that led the team, and of course has the great respect of his teammates to be voted a captain. So Harbaugh was able to figure out a way to respect Cade McNamara, but still let it play out to where JJ would prove to be the guy. And like he said, I've got two good quarterbacks, and he likened it to the San Francisco situation, and he may need Cade McNamara at some point this season.
I think this is where his experience as a player proved invaluable. I mean, you're talking about a guy that his first career collegiate start, beats #1 Miami. And then a few weeks later breaks his leg and doesn't know what his future is in college football, has to win his job back completely. Then following year, that team goes from unranked to #2 in the nation in the final polls. He's the third, in the vote for the Heisman as a senior. He's the first round draft pick at quarterback in Michigan history. Goes to the Bears. You have established veteran quarterbacks there, Tom, Zach, and those guys. He's got to beat them out. All right. Then his career is washed up. And he ends up with the Colts, and now he's in their Ring of Honor. I mean, he's been in all these roles. He's been the hotshot guy. He's been the washed-up vet. He's been the injury-prone guy we don't know we can count on. He's been the returning cover boy All-American. He's played every one of these parts in any form of a quarterback competition. And then he made the ultimate quarterback move, like in recent football memory, with what he did with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. So, I mean, he's done it all, okay? And I think that life experience, I think, proved invaluable here, Mark, because there's another angle to this as well, and it's the other players on the team. He's got a teeter-totter he's got to balance. On one hand, those guys went to war with Cade McNamara for 14 games last year, won 12 of them in a ring. And so they're going to want to know, hey, if I have a couple weeks in camp that aren't great, is 5-star, Mucky Muck going to come in here and make it look like I didn't do anything for you last year, right? You want a meritocracy, but you don't want, cannibalism on your roster either, okay? So you got to balance that. So the players needed to see that Cade was given the chance that you described. Here's the other issue, though, because Jimmy has said the last couple of weeks that where he decided to do this was the last week of camp, McCarthy the light went on, and he got full grasp of the offense. The shoulder, he was just the guy you expected he was going to be all off season, and he just dominated the last scrimmage. That's the one they have in the stadium, and he just owned it. Well, see, the players see that too, okay? And so the players are human too. On one hand, yeah, you got to respect my boy Cade. On the other hand, I like winning, and it's clear the other guy is better, right? You've got to balance those competing interests at the exact same time, and he's done that here. Now he's got another challenge though. With the way JJ likes to run the ball, right? Just ask Texas. I mean, they're lighting it up. Quinn Ewers looks like, the #1 recruit in the country 2 years ago, lighting up Alabama in the first half. One hit, gone. He might not be back until November, right? The way JJ likes to run the ball, I mean, I don't think it's crazy at all. Jack Campbell gets a shoulder on him in Iowa City in a couple of weeks. 4 to 6 weeks, he's out. You've got to get Cade McNamara's confidence back. Now that's the next thing he's got to do is he's now got to go to Cade and say, man, I've been where you're at. I was your guy. I was you with the Colts. I was you with the Chargers. I was washed up, had no future. All right. This is now when you've got to grind. Because even though we're sitting here today and J.J. McCarthy is tied for 5th in the Heisman Trophy betting odds, okay, because it's not really that great of a field, frankly, you're only one hit away. It's very conceivable they're going to need Cade McNamara in a moment or in a game to win something for them or stabilize something for them. And right now, his confidence looks pretty shot. They've got to rehabilitate that a little.
Well, it's a good point, Steve, because while this resulted exactly the way I predicted, it didn't result in the way in terms of the performance of the two quarterbacks.
Right.
I thought Harbaugh was going to have a much more difficult on the surface decision. I think he was well set in his mind where he needed to go and the way he thought he was going to decide and the way it was going to play out. But I was expecting McNamara to be the McNamara of last year and to have sterling statistics against the likes of Hawaii and Colorado State. So that broke, fortunately, for Harbaugh, that he could clearly say McNamara or McCarthy won the job. There you go. But great point in terms of he may need McNamara, and this is where we stand on the confidence scale. And that's difficult to judge. Maybe Cade McNamara is as steely-eyed as I make him out to be, that this has not shaken his confidence. I do think that the way the Michigan fan base has acted is despicable, but I'm not blaming that on Michigan fans. It's more of the college football fans. We saw it with Spencer Rattler last year. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's just of any.
I mean, hey, this time last year, the idea of Stetson Bennett playing another meaningful snap for Georgia was considered anathema.
Yeah.
And now he's literally a freaking folk hero, right? That's the nature. That's the nature of the beast. Yes.